Travel robot presence. Hey, in this video we are going to talk about top 10 things to do in Poland. So before starting this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates. Poland is a historical country with 14 UNESCO World Heritage Sites and a collection of breathtaking natural attractions, mountains, national parks, rugged coastlines, and some unexpected wonders such as the world's oldest salt mine. With its medieval architecture, troubled World War II history, and many villages that seem to be stuck in time, Poland is the perfect destination for history buffs and architecture lovers. Packed with things to do, Poland's cities are humming with the energy of art and culture and are a great starting point to discover everything the country has to offer. Poland is full of surprises. Cities like Warsaw, Krakow, and Gdańsk teem with treasures, while outside the urban centers there are craggy mountains, wooded forests, and wondrous waterways to be explored. Whether your idea of a wild time is trying a tipple or two of the national drink, getting lost in the annals of history, or discovering wildlife in the little trodden countryside, we've rounded up the top 10 things to do on a trip to Poland. Let's get started. Number 10. Wieliczka Salt Mine. Wieliczka. The 13th century Wieliczka salt mine is just as important for the locals today as it was hundreds of years ago, but for a very different reason. One of the world's oldest and longest working salt mines, it stopped commercial operations in 1996 and has since become an artistic attraction. The Wieliczka salt mine is now home to 4 chapels, corridors, and statues, all carved out of the rock salt walls. The mine's original shafts and passageways, some as deep as 327 meters underground, have been reopened and allow visitors to explore pits and chambers, walking past statues and alongside stunning architectural marvels. Deep into the mine, an underground lake shimmers against the candlelit walls. The main tourist attraction inside the mine, however, is the Chapel of Street Kinga, a 12-meter-high chamber where everything, including the elaborate chandeliers and furniture, are made of salt. Number 9. Auschwitz-Birkenau camps, Oswiecim. The WWII and the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camps are a different kind of must-see. Located about an hour west of Krakow, the camps offer a sobering look into the past. Between 1942 and 1944, over 900,000 Jews were brought to the camps here from German-occupied countries. Political prisoners, Roma, and a number of other ethnicities were also sent here. Less than 10% of the people brought here survived their stay. At the end of the war, as Soviet forces advanced into Poland, the Nazis destroyed the gas chambers and crematoria before fleeing. Although they managed to destroy and burn down part of the camp, many structures remain standing to this day. The camps, which include over 300 barracks and hundreds of other buildings and crematoriums, can only be explored as part of a guided tour. Number 8. Warsaw Old Marketplace, Warsaw. The oldest part of Warsaw, the Old Town Marketplace, dates back to the 13th century. Although 85% of the area was destroyed by the Nazis during World War II, it has since been restored to look exactly like it did when it was first built. A mix of medieval architecture, Gothic, and colorful Renaissance buildings and merchant houses all coexist in the city's most popular square. The 19th century bronze statue of a sword-wielding mermaid, a symbol of Warsaw's since medieval times, survived the war and still stands at the square. Today, the market square is home to many cafes and restaurants, as well as street art sellers and many souvenir stalls. The main branch of the Historical Museum of Warsaw is also located here, home to a massive art collection, but also a look through the history of the city and country. The Adam Mickiewicz Museum of Literature, just steps away, pays homage to Poland's most famous poet and writer. Number 7. Malbork Castle, Malbork. This 13th century Teutonic castle was originally built by the Teutonic Knights, a religious order that served as a crusading military unit. Although the castle started as a small fortification, it was subsequently expanded over the centuries and eventually became a massive structure. Once the largest Gothic building in Europe, Malbork Castle remains the world's largest castle by land area. Today, the castle serves as a museum, with many of its original rooms perfectly preserved. Highlights include a medieval kitchen with a 6-meter-wide fireplace, a collection of armor and weapons, and the knight's private toilet at the top of a tower. In addition to historical collections, the castle also houses a number of exhibits, including one showcasing the conservation techniques used to restore the castle. Number 6. Lazienki Park, Warsaw. Lazienki Park covers 76 hectares of the city center, making it one of Poland's largest urban parks. Lazienki started life as a baths park for a nobleman in the 17th century. Today, the palace on the Isle is open to the public, as are the gardens around it. A classical theater Isle stage, where performances are still held. A number of smaller palaces and structures that now serve as museums or galleries, and even a classicist temple dedicated to the goddess Diana are set in the gardens. A large statue of classic Polish composer Frédéric Chopin stands on the grounds of the park as well. The statue was purposely destroyed by German forces as they invaded Poland during World War II and reconstructed in 1958 using the original mold. Every Sunday afternoon, free piano concerts are held at the foot of the statue. Number 5. Crooked Forest, Gryfino. Located just outside the tiny town of Gryfino, the Crooked Forest is a perhaps natural marvel that defies explanation. Here, a number of pine trees stand on their own, growing with a 90-degree angle at their base, all bent northward. The pines were originally planted here in the 1930s, but it took about 10 years before the trunks started to show their characteristic bent. Despite many theories, there's a standing heated debate on whether the curvature was created artificially by manipulating the trees, or whether it just happened naturally or accidentally. Regardless of the cause, the eerie presence of the trees is hard to deny, especially as the rest of the forest is full of healthy, perfectly straight pine trees. It's a great place for a quiet hike in the silence of the forest. Number 4. Wolf's Lair, Gierloz. Hitler's top-secret military headquarters is hidden deep in the Masurian woods. When it was active, it had 3 fortified security areas around it, defended by landmines in addition to heavily armed units. At the time, the area included over 80 buildings, including several air raid shelter bunkers and watchtowers. The Nazis blew up the complex in 1945 before fleeing the approaching Soviet forces. But some of the buildings were so heavily reinforced, many of them could not be destroyed. Visitors can now make their way to the area as a day trip from Warsaw. Although there are plans to eventually add historical exhibits or even a museum to the area, for now it's more a collection of ruins to walk through, discovering the corners of the history that developed here. Number 3. Morskie Oko Lake, Tatra National Park. Located deep within the Tatra National Park and surrounded by towering mountains and Swiss pines, the lake is a favorite destination for people of all ages. Reaching it requires an easy but long paved hike through shaded forests. The lake changes color throughout the year, transforming from a deep shade of blue to a softer turquoise hue. The Tatras National Park extends through both Poland and Slovakia. In Poland, it's home to over 600 caves, snow-covered peaks, and a number of waterfalls, including the 70-meter-tall Wieliczka Cyclowa. Most of the park is hikeable, with over 270 kilometers of trails of all lengths and difficulties. Number 2. Slowinski Sand Dunes. Part of Slowinski National Park in northern Poland, the 500 hectares of moving dunes here are considered a curiosity of nature. Their name comes from the fact that the dunes actually change form and move along the 32 kilometers of shoreline throughout the year, as winds and waves crash against the beach. Depending on the weather, the dunes can move up to 10 meters per year and reach heights of up to 30 meters. While the shifting sand dunes are the park's main attraction, you'll also find forests, bogs, lakes, and many kilometers of hiking trails. And once you make it over the dunes, you'll find a beautiful beach and clear blue waters. Number 1. Biskupin Settlement. Often referred to as the Pompeii of Poland, the Biskupin Settlement is a recreation of the original prehistoric settlement that once thrived in the same place around the Late Bronze Age. Now an archaeological open-air museum that tells the story of ancient Poland. The settlement showcases what life would have been like back then, with log houses. The original settlement included over 100 homes, and streets covered with wooden planks, as the location meant the streets were always wet and the ground always soft. The settlement is surrounded by a tall wooden wall that's over 450 meters long and includes a watchtower near the entrance gate. What do you think about this video? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.